like sand through the hourglass. So goes the time on the R&B Show. And now the two guys that are still waiting for their dance on Fortnite. Here's Ricardo and Brett.
Rosie forgot the Can You Dig It?
You did.
It's just, got to do it. Do it quick.
All right. Can you dig it?
Now we can start. See, because they do that, and then it'll throw the whole show off, just like what happened to Brett on Monday. Something threw him off in the Packers show, and he was just a complete mess the whole time.
Oh, that's right.
Make sure that happens for me. I don't want to be a complete mess. But yeah, welcome to the R&B Show, season number 2 and episode number 3 overall. But well, actually, episode number 3 of this season.
Let's say an episode. It always sounds like Star
41.
Wars over here.
Do we say weather
We should have a strolling marquee like the Star Wars thing.
Could.
Rosie could dig one up.
We don't need
But
that.
only podcast dedicated to high school sports in the Fox Valley. I'm your co-host, Ricardo Arguello. Sitting alongside with me, as always, Brett Christopherson.
Krabby.
Krabby, Brett Christopherson, CBC. We're both with USA Today Network Wisconsin. And don't forget about Jim Rosie. Call him Rosie over there behind a new, what do you call that, audio board? Is that what it's
That
called?
would be a new audio board.
And then
yes.
hanging out, as always, with us, at least for the last couple of episodes, has been Trent Retzloff?
Tetzlaff.
Trent Tetzlaff?
Yep.
Sorry, I'm going to call you Double T because I like that better. But
That's
really
Ricardo.
easy for me.
Don't worry about Trent. He butchers names. He's butchered my name many times, and we worked together.
Yeah,
for
thanks
like
for
10
sharing.
years.
Thanks for sharing that, Brent. But
Hey, listen, I'm tired of this rain.
yeah, how's your basement doing?
It's fine, actually. Everything's good. My roof is a little. I think I'm going to need a new roof.
I think there's small. It's not damp. There's just some small leaks in my basement.
That's normal when you get like 5 inches of rain.
Yeah,
in the last
it's finished, but I don't have any problems so far, but it's starting to worry me a little bit because I don't like it. What about you, Rosie? Real quick, are you underwater again?
Not completely underwater. We do have a few streams, but nothing too horrible. So.
What are you supposed to do? I mean, our house that we live in is almost 100 years old, and the basement has one part of the basement has like this little, I call it a little ditch in the ground, so that if water does seep in, it's never like a flood. It's just like seepage, I call it. It hits this channel and runs into our drain pit.
Okay.
So it's kind of like its own system.
All right.
But there's another part of the basement. I mean, we've had like tons of rain.
We have.
And it's not even what southern part of the state's been getting. They're just getting bombarded with rain.
Trent, I didn't ask you, but I'm assuming that I don't know if you own a house or not.
No, my apartment's
nice
all
and
fine,
clean.
I guess. Yeah.
Second, are you on the second level? Are you on the second level?
Second level. Yep.
Attaboy. Always get the second level so people aren't pounding around up
I got a little
above
leak upstairs. A little leak. Well, it's an old roof now. I mean, it looks okay, but it's starting to show its wear.
Well, the good thing about that, Brett, is it doesn't cost a whole lot of money to replace.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna start calling roofing companies, and because I don't want 2 feet of snow sitting on my roof if it's not ready to go. But you know what? I took a nice bike ride yesterday. I tried. It was about 13 miles, which is a little light for me. The humidity. I can't get a good deep cleansing breath anymore. I had to stop my ride. It's like I can't take a deep breath in this air. I'm tired of the humidity, Ricardo.
Just carrying an oxygen tank behind you. Put it right up there.
I love summer, but I'm tired of this humid weather, and it's been not only a lengthy humidity, but sticky and thick.
Yeah, well, I just find it interesting
terrible.
that we've had all this rain the last couple of weeks, and we didn't have anything basically through June and July.
Yeah.
In the first couple of weeks of August, and now we're getting it all dumped on. But
it's supposed to get better after today.
Let's hope, because and this will come up in a little bit when I talk about Nina soccer. But the fields are all a mess because I was just over there.
Yeah, what was going? They had to restripe it, right?
Yeah, and
last night
I went to talk to the coaches, and it was like walking around on the Everglades, man. It was wet, it was wild. Not conducive to good soccer playing, I'll tell you that right now.
Good thing this isn't the spring and all the baseball.
Yeah, and so I'll talk about that a little bit when we talk about the Nina soccer team. But, yeah, again, R&B Show, let's talk about some topics coming up here. I'm going to put us all on the spot, Brett. After a third of the season, I'm going to say who are our championship contenders in football. I'm going to get your thoughts on that. I'm going to get Rosie's thoughts on that. Hell, I might even have Trent give me a thought on that as well.
Did you just swear?
I said heck.
Okay.
With a couple L's. Why are we doing Spash Appleton North? That's my next topic, Brett. And you're going to have to let everyone know why we're doing a game that involves two teams that have one win between them both.
I have not heard any negativity so far.
But we'll kind of cut that off at the pass. And then I'll talk a little bit about Nina soccer, and then a couple other things I want to talk about. If we do have time, is real quick. I was thinking about this the other day. Who's the best high school football player that you have ever seen? And most noteworthy team, most noteworthy football team, other than Kimberly. That's an easy one. You can't say Kimberly. It's got to be another team that you saw play. Okay, so that's why I want to pick your brain a little bit on that. But first, who are championship contenders? Now, it's real easy kind of to look at the teams that are undefeated throughout our area anyway. And in Divisions 1 and 2, you're talking about Neenah, Menasha. In Divisions 3 through 7, it's Little Chute, Wrightstown, Hilbert. Those are our, I guess, 5 or 6 undefeated teams. So, Brett, what team quickly comes off that roster of teams I just gave you?
Just one team?
Give me the one
if
team.
I think there's one team that really has a good shot, I mean,
it has to be from that undefeated. Don't be saying Kimberly.
No, I won't.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
It's Little Chute.
Okay. And why Little Chute?
I think they have the perfect blend right now. They're always. I've said this before. I think they always have a really good defense.
Okay.
Always. Although I know size in the back end at the cornerback spot is a little bit of a concern. So if they do play a team that has some big receivers down the line and a passing team, that could be problematic. But right now they have a big offensive line, an experienced offensive line, and 2 really good running backs in Isaac Van Derzen and Bryce Schumacher. They got Noah Miller at quarterback. They got 2 really good receivers with speed in Jacob Lilge and Adam Hippis. They can run, they can throw, they can control the clock, they can protect the quarterback, and they got a defense that can swarm to the football. And they kind of hammered a pretty good Luxembourg Casco team in week 3. They've already got 2 of their 3 toughest games out of the way. I mean, the rivalry game with Freedom and now this game with Casco, both trophy games, by the way, the County End sign for Freedom and the LC sign for the Casco Little Chute one. They're going to be 8-0 going into that week 9 live stream when they take on Wrightstown. And I think that's going to be for the conference championship, a game that we'll stream in week 9. But I really like what they've done. Brian Richkowski has led the team to a state championship appearance recently and a state semifinal appearance. So they kind of have that pedigree too. It's a team that is a program that kind of had some bumps not all that long ago, but the last season under Greg Enns and now all through Brian Richkowski's era, they've been a playoff participant in a conference championship contender. It's been a long time since the Mustangs have put a number on that conference championship wall for football. I think this is the year they're going to get it done, and I think they're going to make a deep run. Okay,
I agree with you on I agree with you on Little Chute, but my pick is going to be Menasha. A little bit of a surprise. I'm going on a limb, and granted, I think you and I both agree they weren't that impressive beating Xavier. I mean, they won 41-21. We think they can do better. That's what I'm, I guess, banking on, that Menasha is going to put it all together, because they have very, very similar to Little Chute. They have a lot of outstanding playmakers, but it's a matter of the mental mistakes with them. I'm thinking that they can get that done and hopefully get a little bit of that swagger and that toughness back that they used to have in the VFA South. Now that they, I don't know, sometimes you think maybe it's missing over there in the Bay. I actually am a believer in Menasha. I think they can do it. I'm calling it right now. I think they're going to reach the title game. I'm not saying they're going to win. Just saying they're going to get to the D2 championship game over there at Camp Rando. And real quick, Rosie, who are you thinking? You can't say Kimberly.
I know. Give me the list again because I was adjusting a camera.
Neenah, Menasha, Little Chute, Wrightstown, Hilbert. Those are our 6 or 5 undefeated teams.
I'm going to have to go with Brett. I'm going to say Little Chute.
Okay.
Because Neenah, while they're probably a really good team, I'm not dissing them or anything. They got to go through some tough teams.
That's right.
But one thing I think, and why I say Little Chute is I think Miller is really kind of an underrated quarterback. I think
that's because it's his first year playing quarterback.
Yeah. And I kind of think he's even going to progress even better, which is going to really help that offense. So I got to go with Little Chute.
Okay. Now I want to also say out there, Little Shooters, I'm on board with what Brett and Rosie are saying. I just felt I wanted to go with Menasha as well. Trent!
I'm going to have to side with you on this one. I'm going to go with Menasha because it came down to Menasha and Neenah for me. And Menasha's too big up front.
There you go.
There, and I think, like Rosie said, Neenah's going to have to go through too much Fond du Lac and Kimberly. So
either one of those. They're going to have to play either one of those teams, and that's asking a lot. Well, not even that. Neenah might have to play Bayport or somebody. You know what I mean?
Bayport's really good. They're undefeated right now.
They got speed.
So, unfortunately.
But I have a lot of respect for what Neenah's doing.
I do too.
They're top-notch, but that is a gauntlet to try to get through to get to Camp Randall, where you think, remember Brian Richkowski's first year with Little Chute, It's going to sound bad to say it, but they did have an easy road to get to Camp Randall. They went out to play like Bloomer, Spencer Columbus, those teams that.
Oh, that's right. They did play Spencer. I remember Spencer. Columbus,
teams that they should handle, especially with how Little Chute is. They've always been pretty good athletically. Here's my thing with Menasha. I agree with you too. Run the ball.
Yeah.
I thought there was a time in that game last week
Right.
against Xavier where they were ready to put it away, and then I thought they tried to rely too much on the passing game.
Right.
And I know. Cole Pope is a really good quarterback, and he can step back and throw. He had all day to do it with that big offensive line. They got Riley Zirpel as a wideout, an athlete. Used Zirpel more in the running game too, and they got Tyler Rail is a really good running back. Calderon is a good running back. Man, they could really just pound teams on the ground, and I thought that was a moment where I was thinking, man, just run the ball, run the ball.
I gotta agree with Brett on that because. There was that time where I can't remember the Xavier linebacker's name, but he missed a easy pick six. Yeah,
was it number 44? Max Strand.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy pick six, but if he gets that and gets that pick six, it's 21-21 all of a sudden.
Right.
But with that offensive line like that, I mean, you could just wear a defense down.
And here's the thing: that offensive line wasn't healthy. They were missing two guys, actually, two starters. I was talking to Solak afterwards, so. They were missing one of their other guys, and then some guys are playing hurt. They weren't 100%. He goes, wait till later in the year when we get it all together. We're going to be and I'm actually planning a story on that, a dominating unit. It's one thing to see at the D1 level. We saw that with Appleton North last year, perhaps, but to see it at the D2 level,
yeah.
That offensive line is going to have to kind of take charge of that team and get them where they need to be. So that's why they're my pick, along with Little Chute. I agree with Little Chute as well. So looks like we have a consensus in a way, right? So 2 for Little Chute, 2 go for Nasha. There you go, right?
And don't forget about Kimberly.
And yeah, right. We're assuming Kimberly's going to be there. So
well, I'm not assuming.
I'm assuming Kimberly's going to be there. Actually,
they'll be heard from.
And that is no disrespect to Nina, Wrightstown, and Hilbert, the fine teams. But we got to do it.
We got a Facebook.
All right.
Comment from Dooley Detchen, our friend. She said, from this camera angle, it almost looks like Ricardo is sporting a halo, but that can't be true.
Yes.
Oh, go Packers, that poor Bears fan.
Yeah, from camera 2, I think it's the
yeah, well, people do find me.
No, she's saying because you're a Bears fan, you're the devil. You're not. You don't have a halo.
Yeah. Well, it's not.
Thanks for
I'm
watching,
not.
Julie.
I'm the devil, but not because of that. But okay. But I'll be judged like we all will be, Brett. When it comes down to it. But, hey, let's switch topics right away. Why are we doing Spash Appleton Northbred? Why?
Why does it bother you?
I don't know. I'm just asking a question.
Why does it bug you so much?
I just feel like I got to ask a question why we're doing a game that features 0-3 Spash, 1-2 Appleton North. I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm just talking.
Here's the thing. First of all, I put it on social media yesterday, and this was after a long thought out process where I picked your brain, Mike Sherry's brain.
We were debating all Friday night.
Well, here's the thing. Back in March, again, when the schedule was set, this was the scheduled game. Appleton North Spash was a no-brainer. And when you look at the Week 4 schedule, they're just you get those weeks sometimes at the high school season. You get them in the NFL. You get them in college. There just aren't a lot of great marquee matchups. So when it got down to it, we just thought it's still 2 big schools. You still got Appleton North that can turn it around, and you got Spash that played Kimberly really actually pretty tough last week, and 2 teams you kind of flip it that are fighting for their playoff lives right now. Neither team can afford a loss at this point. 2 programs that traditionally are very strong and have made deep runs in the playoffs. There really still wasn't a better matchup, so let's just stick with the game plan and move forward. Plus, it gives us a chance to go to Gerke, gives us a chance to
go to Bills.
No, there'll be no Bills on Friday night, unfortunately. I've been told that is not allowed. But it gives us an opportunity to go into our central markets as well, and Spash is a premier school. So in an odd sort of way, it's still a really big game because of both teams are fighting for their playoff lives. And let's not forget about it. Look at the schedule both teams have played so far this year. Appleton North has lost to Fond du Lac and was it Nina?
Yeah.
And Spash has lost to Kimberly and Nina.
Right.
Those are all highly ranked teams in the state. In fact, if you look at the Division I coaches poll, I think it's Fond du Lac, Kimberly, and Nina are all ranked within the top 4. I think it's Fond du Lac 1, Kimberly 2, and Nina 4. So it's not like Appleton North and Spash have played a bunch of nobodies. They're playing the best of the best in the state of Wisconsin, and it's just been a rugged schedule for those two schools. So we're going to stick with the big schools, the big enrollments, and get back into the Valley Football Association, a conference that we haven't seen since week 1, and we'll keep moving forward.
That I don't. Yeah, I mean, I wanted you to explain to everybody just in case it comes up. You know, and we'll bring it up also during the live stream as well. Hey, to go listen to the podcast, you'll find out why Brett did what he did, or maybe you can explain it at that point as well. But okay, well, that's
what were the poll results?
I didn't put it on poll. I mean, we did look at the other two matchups we looked at as we thought about switching the schedule, and now through the first 4 weeks, we've kept the schedule the same. You know, it was Fondy and Kimberly week 1, Amherst Springs, which gave us actually very good numbers in week 2. Menasha Xavier disappointing in numbers actually the last week in week 3, even though that was a good Bay Conference showdown. But in Spash and Apple North, those were the first 4 so far on the schedule. But I don't know. It's tough when you got to pick the schedule out well in advance. Doesn't mean we can't switch things up a little bit. And maybe next week is an opportunity to do that. But I was going to say Little Chute Marinette was a possibility. And, you know, just because of what the Mustangs did last week against Luxembourg Casco, although I looked at Marinette, and, you know, they're not favored to do much in the Northeastern, and they did get blown out by Wrightstown, which is the other really good team in that league, and they barely beat an O'Connell Falls team, which isn't very good. I think that was like a 34-27 game. And then we looked at Marshfield and Kaukauna. Marshfield's 3-0, Kaukauna 2-1. That weighed heavily on us as well, but I think this is the right choice. It's still 2 premier programs. Spash and Appleton, they've had a gauntlet. Speaking of a gauntlet of a schedule, it's been tough for these first few weeks for those 2 programs.
Right. So, you know, I'm glad you're able to explain it in full, and we did consider other teams out there. So at the end, I think Brett made the right choice. Doing Appleton North.
It's really a playoff game.
It is. They're playing for their playoff lives, really, is what it comes down to. Because if Spash goes to 0-4, I don't want to say that they're out. I mean, but that is a tremendous hole to climb out of, Brett.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And even Appleton North at 1-3, knowing that Kimberly's still on the schedule later on in week 7, which is a game we'll stream. Rob Somm doesn't want to have 3 losses going into that Kimberly game, and I'd have to check the rest of their schedule and how it looks, but you're playing with fire at that point.
Interesting.
I think they only have 8 games on the regular season schedule again this year.
Yeah, they do. That's right, Brett, because they have that because they weren't able to schedule that non-conference opponent like last year. So I'm not sure if that's going to work out where they have week 9 off in that way. But I'm going to switch topics again back over to soccer, boys soccer, which we've been not giving enough love to the last couple of weeks here. But I want to give a big shout out to Nina Soccer. Let me tell you, they beat Kimberly yesterday 4-0.
They look good, didn't they?
They look outstanding, and they did it, Brett, in some horrible conditions. That field over there at Papermaker Field, it's not Papermaker Stadium, it's Papermaker
right behind.
Field.
Yeah, I know
right
exactly
behind,
where you're
right
talking.
over there by J.R.
Why
Garrett.
couldn't they play on the turf?
There was the 8th grade football team was playing. I want to see the
Get
JV
the 8th
or
graders off the turf. Are you kidding me? Versus a varsity sport?
Yeah, well, hey, you take that up with Coach McGinnis. I have nothing to do with that, or Ryan McGinnis.
Actually, that soccer field's a pretty nice setup back there.
Think again, my friend, because it didn't drain very well. It was a sopping mess.
Ricard, we've had 8 inches of rain.
Yeah, I know that, but this is where you want to have that turf. In fact, I was talking to some of the folks there. They were expecting it to be on the turf.
So a little angry.
Yeah, a little upset because these aren't just 2, ragtag teams. These are seen as 2 of the top teams in the FBA. By the way, Nina ranked number 3 in the state, the Wisconsin Soccer Coaches Association. They looked every bit as good as their ranking was. They are 7-0, 2-0 in the FBA. Brett, they have allowed 1 goal all season. That was in the first game. And they look, and I've seen this team win a state championship or that program way back, I want to say in 2008 or 2009, under Coach Harry Kellerman, who was there watching, by the way.
Was he really?
He was way up high in the stands.
Legendary.
Legendary coach, a living legend who was sitting there watching. To talk to, he could have,
a little gruff.
Once you get to know him a little bit, he's like a big old bear. He gets to be really cool afterwards. But yeah, they looked outstanding, and got to give credit to Coach Ross because I think this Nina team has what it takes to get down to U-Line, and we have had a dearth of teams. We have had no teams actually make it to U-Line. I want to say last year, both for the Post Crescent area in both boys and girls soccer. That is absolutely, you can't have that happen, especially an area like ours, which prides itself on its soccer. To have that happen is inexcusable. But this year, I think this Nina team has what it takes, Brett. Yeah, FBA soccer, it's been down a little bit, but now it looks to be coming back, and it's going to be led by Nina.
That's good to see. Nina's got a proud soccer tradition.
You covered some of those games, didn't you?
Way back in the day. Way back in the day, yeah, with Harry Kelderman. I think Don Thompson was on the girls' side. That's our colleague Andy Thompson, his brother. I think it was Goggins was a coach.
Yes, I remember that name.
Yeah, so a lot of good soccer. Boy, they talk about facilities. They got a great setup at Memorial Park at Neenah.
Now that's a soccer field.
Yeah, they got a lot going on over there.
Yeah, so congratulations again to Neenah Soccer. I talked to Thomas Priest, who had a couple of goals, and they're a confident bunch. And
so where is the epicenter of prep soccer? Is it
it's
still southeast Wisconsin?
Of course, and that's where I was expecting. Okay, well maybe the Fox Valley is kind of pulling that away a little bit because they had great teams with Xavier. FEL won a state championship one year. Appleton North Girls Soccer won not too long ago. Winnicott made it to the state championship game. I want to say 2 years ago.
Just remember, Classic 8 is the best football conference in the state, so they got it all going in southeast.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess we're just a bunch of nothings up here. So.
Well, apparently so.
Yeah, but hey. We'll switch topic and we'll wrap up here with a little bit of this and that. Who's the best high school football player that you've ever seen play, Brett?
Well, you're putting me on the spot. I can't answer that right now. I have to think through that. The best ever?
That you ever saw play.
Ooh, come back to me. Go to Rosie.
Boy. Rosie, do you have anybody come out to your mind?
Let me see. I'm just trying to think short term here.
That's a tough one. Wow.
I would say just off the top of my head, not being able to think about it, probably so far Blair Mulholland.
That's who I was thinking about too, or Jamie Wells. He was explosive. But are you talking about even if I'm like a kid watching it, growing up in Stevens Point, like?
Oh, I guess you can go back.
Like are you talking about like Rocky Blyer? I mean, I didn't see him play.
No. You have to actually witness the man play or the boy, the athlete play. Not just out as a boy, really as you can take it all in and understand, why he's that special. We'll go back to you.
Trent's got one.
You guys will probably remember this guy, Steve Lightfoot for Appleton.
Oh yeah,
Stevie Touchdown. We used to call him. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a heck of a player. Good guy, number 21.
Yep.
See, I remember
Stevie
him,
Touchdown.
Yeah.
They had such a lot of good running backs back then.
Their playoff game up at Stevens Point is what kind of started off our little.
That was like 10 years ago now.
Our little live stream, our little that we had with the WIA a little bit. I remember that.
How about like Kevin Rohr, the quarterback at Xavier, or Matt Ferris?
Ferris,
yeah. Oh, Ferris.
Gatorade Player of the Year. I mean, man, both of those quarterbacks were so smart. I remember remember old Hortonville coach Jeff Nault? I think his kid might be on Neenah's
I think
football
he is,
team now.
actually, yeah.
Jeff Nault played for the Badgers, but he was a head coach at Hortonville when that really great Xavier team, I think it was 04, 05. We talked about it on the webcast on Friday. It was Kevin Rohr was the quarterback, Lee Weiland was a receiver. They made it to level 4, and they lost to, I think, Sturgeon Bay at Manitowoc. I covered that game. And I remember talking to Coach Nault, though, during the regular season. This was when Xavier and Hortonville were in the same conference. It was the Valley 8, I think, back then, or the very first part of the Eastern Valley. But, when Hortonville was not the FEA that we know today. And Nault said there was a play a defensive call that they came in, and Rohr was taking, reading the defense. And I can still see Nault on the side. Look at him. Look at him reading the defense. Look at this kid. This is a former Badger, a guy that's got extensive football experience. So was just bragging about this quarterback from Xavier and how he was changing the play and knew exactly what they wanted to do defensively. And that's the same thing Matt Ferris did as well. I think they would sometimes call 2, maybe even 3 plays.
Right.
And then Matt Ferris had it was up to him on what he wanted to call based on how he could read a defense. So Xavier's had to talk about quarterback U. They've had a couple really, really nice signal callers back in the day who have led them on deep playoff runs.
Wow. I think I remember a time when Ferris actually, because he was so good at reading defenses too, he actually made up a play to the tight end, and the coach said, "We don't have that play." He goes, "We do now."
Yeah, that's how
I think
smart he
they
is.
threw a touchdown.
I think that's why he stuck.
Score.
That's why he stuck with the Badgers basketball. He was so good at helping run the scout team.
Well, Jamison Wells is what comes to forefront for me just because of all the stuff he could do. He was incredible, good receiver, kick returner, also outstanding defensive back, was a player of the year in the States, much like Mulholland was as well. So he comes to forefront. But another person just popped in my head right now, and this name is a little might not be familiar with Trent, but Aaron Stecker. You ever remember Aaron Stecker?
Yeah.
He comes to mind because I did actually go and see a playoff game of his. It was back, I think, when I was in high school. I remember we all wanted to go see the Stecker kid from Ashwaubenon, so we all went up and watched him play. We were just shocked. He ran for like 200-some yards or whatever, some playoff game. And that kid sticks out in my mind. I think he made it to the NFL, too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so
Saints.
Jamison Wells and Aaron Stecker, I guess, stick out for me in terms of players that just caught my eye.
I thought for sure Rosie would say Rocky Beagle, Wisconsin Rapids.
Oh, well,
Vince Beagle's dad
yeah,
played
I
at
never.
BYU.
It was funny because in high school I never went to the games actually, but of course I went to Assumption.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never saw Rocky play, and I never saw Vince play either. But you would think I would, being from Rapids.
You would think a big.
Well, my Friday nights are kind of taken up, but not back then. Well, actually, they were. I had to work Friday nights too.
I thought maybe you were just a ladies' man, a carousing.
Oh, I wish, yeah.
Carousing.
I remember Jamie
Jim
Wells. Didn't he have a big punt return or kickoff return in that state
Yes, he
championship
did.
game where they just opened up and he was gone?
Yeah.
Went to play baseball and football at
Northern
Northern
Illinois.
I think
That's
then
true.
switched just to baseball, right?
Yeah, a heck of an athlete.
Here's when you're starting to feel old. Last year he was one of the honorary captains at,
Yes.
at a Kimberly game,
Right.
and he has like kids now or something. Like what?
Yeah,
He was just playing like 2 years ago, wasn't he?
yeah, right, exactly. Well, here's a
Are you going to do a story on that?
on what?
On the best high school
That's
football? Is
well,
that
I'm
kinda
not
what
saying
you're-
that I'm going to be doing that, but that's a good idea. I probably should. I mean, I've been toying with the idea of not just that, but my next question, most noteworthy team other than Kimberly, okay, football team that you remember seeing play. I'll start this one if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Mine, well, we're not including Kimberly. Mine is the Ripon championship team from 2000. I want to say 3 or 4. That team ran the single wing offense, like a offense from the 1920s. No one could prepare for it. They ran obscene amounts of rushing yards. I think they ran for 4,000, close to 5,000 rushing yards. They passed the ball like never. So
Yeah.
they were actually they averaged like 450 rushing yards a game. So this was a team that was putting up numbers that were close to national records and stuff. I remember Ellis Minor. They had a 2,000-yard rusher and a 1,500-yard rusher, and their quarterback almost ran for 1,000 yards. It was like 700 or 800 rushing yards. It was insane the way. And it was Coach Gillespie from Ripon College, right? I'm thinking of Gordy Gillespie. He was their offensive coordinator, and this guy was. I mean, he looked like Lombardi walking up and down the sidelines. He was. He had the hat. He had the fedora. And he just ran this 20s, 30s offense, and no one could prepare for it. It's one thing the conference kind of knows them a little bit, but when you go out in the playoffs and you have a week to prepare for that single wing, and you've never, no coaches have ever seen that offense. You know what I mean? They just ran wild over everyone in the playoffs and won the championship. It was unlike any other team I've ever seen before in terms of domination and the offense that they were running.
So that I actually saw play. So I
Yeah.
can't say the 1969 Chilton
No, it's gotta be what
unbeaten,
you
unscored
saw
upon
play.
with Dave Casper. I'm gonna go outside the box here. I'm gonna say, and you guys are gonna chuckle, but how about the 2013 Winneconne football team that entered the playoffs with a losing record and ended up winning the state championship game?
One.
The last loss they suffered, if memory serves, my son was a senior on the Little Chute team, even had an interception in that game that beat Winneconne at Winneconne, and that I think proved to be their final loss of the season, and then they ended up running the table. I thought they entered the playoffs either at, were they 4 and 5?
4 and 5.
And ended up winning the next 5 games to end up what would that have been, like 9 and 5 as your state championship team.
And I want to say they beat Platteville in the championship.
I'll look
game.
that up.
And Platteville, if I remember right, was also a team that was a little bit of a Cinderella. Any other year, but kind of Winneconne took that matchup. You know who else beat Winneconne that year? Amro.
But for the China Bowl. But I that was noteworthy in the sense that I think they had like maybe the most losses by a state champion or tied for that. So yeah.
All right, I like that pick, Brett.
Thank you.
We'll get over to Rosie quick.
Oh, I'm trying. Well, see, I don't cover the teams like you guys do. So
Okay,
I'm just trying to remember. I mean, I remember like most memorable game just right off the top of my head was probably the what was that? Was that 2015 Menasha Xavier where who was the quarterback kind of pretty much carried the team on his back?
Tyler Johnson.
Tyler
Nope.
Johnson.
Nope.
Or Ferris.
Not Ferris. I was quarterback after Ferris.
Oh,
Plowman?
No, not
No,
Plowman.
no.
Before him.
Simon?
Simon.
Zach
Yeah.
Simon.
Where he pretty much they were down by 2 scores and with less than 2 minutes left, and he came back and won the game for him.
Yeah, and I think that was what Menasha's only lost during the regular season.
Yeah, and that was just I thought that was just a gutsy performance.
Okay, all right, we'll count that. Anybody for you, Trent?
I would have to go with that 2014 Menasha team with Tyler Johnson.
Yeah.
As we just mentioned, I remember watching them on their run to the championship, and Tyler Johnson he just carried them and put him on his back. It was pretty cool to watch.
Now a linebacker for the Wisconsin
Yeah,
Badgers, and that galvanized Menasha. So Brett, they did beat the 9-5.
Yeah, it was
Platteville team.
Winneconne in 2013 state title game. Winneconne ended up 9-5. They beat Platteville, which finished 9-5, 28-14. Check this out: Arrowhead Division I champs, 13-1. Then Kimberly in Division II, 14-0. Monona Grove in Division III, 14-0. Stanley Boyd, 14-0 in D5.
Yeah.
Shiocton, 14-0 in D6. Blackhawk, 14-0 in D7. And then you have Winneconne at 9-5 in D4.
And I think I wrote a column after that saying they have given every team hope that enters the playoffs, because they were, in terms of record, the worst team to enter the playoffs, and then they go and they win, the D4 crown. So they basically, any team literally has a shot to win it all, because no matter what your record is getting into the playoffs, just get into the playoffs.
I'm going to look at that
What about
game schedule up here.
Did Tyler Donovan's team win?
Tyler Johnson?
No, Donovan.
Oh, Donovan from Arrowhead.
Yeah, Arrowhead. They won the championship that year that he played Kiwi. Then he went on to play at Wisconsin.
I can't remember what year that was.
When Arrowhead used to be.
Why are you gonna change your team now?
No, that's about the only other team, and I can remember where I was impressed with the team.
So check that. I misspoke. That 2013 Winneconne team, they lost to Little Chute 20-14. That was a 4 week 6 game. So they were 2-4 at that time. The very next week they got hammered by Xavier 42-0. And then they went out and won the rest of their games. They got into the playoffs.
The table.
So
I mean, some of these losses, they weren't close.
No.
Freedom beat up 28-0. Amro beat them 21-7. Wapaka up 34-12. And then Little Chute beat them by the touchdown. But then Xavier again 42-0. Those were whippings.
I remember that game thinking to myself, because again my son was playing on Little Chute that season, and after the game, there is not a thought in my mind that I was watching the future Division IV state champions on the field that night.
Exactly.
If anything, we thought maybe the Mustangs would make a run, but it was
wild.
Winneconne that. Well, look at they played River Valley, Watoma, Nakusa, and then Somerset in the level 4.
Somerset's the only team out of those collection of motley crew playoff teams there that actually has some sort of semblance of a tradition.
And they had to beat FVL and Ripon just to get in, and they squeaked past FVL 20-14 and Ripon 35-22 just to get into the playoffs. Yeah, and then Somerset, it's a state power program. They beat them 16-14 in the state semifinals in Marshfield. So,
Brett, I got to give it to you. That's a
run.
good one. That's a good one from Winneconne. So yeah, well, hey, that's one more thing before we got to preview our tonight's roundtable that features Neenah football players Logan Iden and Logan Moreau. They're coming in. The Logan Show. They're coming in later tonight at 7 o'clock, so please tune in, postcrescent.com or on facebook.com/postcrescent so to watch the big Neenah guys. They've been asking to be on after week 1. Like, Ricardo, are we coming on? Are we coming on? Are we coming on? I'm like, now you're coming on. You're getting on your week 4. Hopefully, we'll have plenty to talk about, and they'll share some of their thoughts on the great season they've been having.
Yeah, that's good. I'm looking forward. It's been a while since Neenah's really been a relevant football program, and I think that's fair to say, right? They made the playoffs They made the playoffs a couple of years ago, I want to say, but they had a long stretch where they were really down and out. So it's good. It's fun to see the Rockets making the climb back and being ranked in the state and a shot to get to Madison without a doubt. They've got the team that can do it.
All right.
So if the rivalry was still there, just to put you on the spot, Neenah Menasha, if they played this year.
This year, that's a good question. How about this? We'll save that question for next week.
I haven't seen Neenah play yet. So
because I haven't seen Neenah play yet either.
Yeah, that sounds good.
We're hoping to see him in week 8 though against Fondy.
Yes.
But but in years past, Menasha would have whipped them. That's how much better Menasha had gotten than Neenah. I'm sure that was a little bit of a. I don't want to say it was the reason for the kind of sudden turnaround, but when you're getting beaten by Menasha, when you're Neenah, what? 2 times as big as Menasha. I mean, that's.
Well, and they used to, and then Menasha got good, and Neenah got bad, and then Menasha moves to another conference. You see their facilities at Calder, although I know Rocket Stadium's really nice. I'm surprised though that they don't have turf yet.
Oh, Calder's beautiful.
Calder's fantastic.
Great stadium.
It's fun to see both programs doing well, but we talked about that in the webcast. It'd be nice if they could renew that rivalry again. Get Menasha back in the VFA where they belong
or go to
football.
district play, but we'll talk more about that next week. But all right, Rosie, cue the music, my friend, because that's the end of another edition of the R&B podcast. Brett's about to throw a football there at the camera.
At the new cameras, am I allowed to do this, Rosie?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, well.
It is just a Nerf ball. Come on.
It is, it's a Nerf ball.
Oh, I'm a little nervous.
See you next week.
Okay,
I think we're good.
A little high, but it still hit it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to hit the lens.